Well, hey friends, we are back for another episode today, and I have another interview for you in honor of Abortion Recovery Awareness Month. I hope that you have been loving what we've been doing this month with this kind of series, if you will, for abortion recovery awareness. It's so important for us to know that abortion recovery is out there and that there are other women like us who have experienced the same thing. And today's interview is going to be one that I know you are just going to love. So today I am speaking with a woman. Her name is Quinn Poehls, and she lives in Fargo, North Dakota, which is also where I live. So super cool. She is in property management, and she and her husband also run a business outside of their day jobs. And she shares something in common with us. So she has also had an abortion. And her story involves judicial bypass. So her abortion occurred when she was still in high school. And her bravery and her courage to come forward and share her story, this is one of the first times that she has shared her story publicly, if not the first time. She's just inspired me so much with how courageous she is to go public with what she went through. And I know that you are going to be blessed by her. I know that God is going to have so much fruit from people getting to hear her story and her breakthrough. And so I'm so thankful that she was willing to come on the podcast and share some of her most vulnerable moments with you all. So I just pray that you are blessed by what you hear. And I just pray that you will listen with open ears and open hearts, and that you will be pointed towards the healing and hope that God has for you as you listen to her. So without further ado, here is my new friend and basically neighbor, Quinn Poehls. Are you struggling with the pain of a past abortion and longing for help but don't know where to turn? Welcome to the Does God Forgive Abortion podcast. I'm Brittany, an abortion recovery and mental health coach who went from feeling completely isolated and desperate in my post-abortion grief to achieving wholeness and freedom, all because of redemption in Christ. If you are ready to break free from the chains of shame and guilt from a past decision of abortion, you are in the right place. Let's crack open that Bible, because it's time to receive the good news. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Does God Forgive Abortion podcast. I am here today with another special guest. Her name is Quinn Poehls, and this is one of her kind of first times really getting out there and sharing her story. So I am so excited for you to hear what she has to share with us today. So Quinn, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, yes, thank you, Brittany. Um, yeah, so I'm currently living in Fargo, North Dakota. My husband and I, that's where we currently reside. Um,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's awesome. Yes, yeah, we're basically neighbors.
hmm hmm
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you're comfortable, why don't you go ahead and jump in and tell us a bit about your story? Just share whatever you feel led to share with us today.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll just kind of start with my background, kind of where I came from and grew up with as far as the values go. Um, so I actually came from a really close-knit, loving family per se. My family are all Catholics. We all have the same belief levels, and you would probably look at our family, to be transparent and say like, oh wow, like they have it all together. And I guess bringing it back to when this all started with my abortion. And so I was a senior in college. So I too was 17 years old, and I was dating a guy who actually was from California. So he was visiting Minnesota because that's where he was coming to play hockey at. And so we had met, and it was after my volleyball season because I was a really big athlete. I was big into volleyball, and that's where I was really focused on. And so after my senior season had ended, it was kind of like, all right, like now what? And so I ended up meeting this guy, and it was a great relationship. He was honestly a really great guy. There was nothing like bad about him or anything like that. Um, but he was obviously, well, I should say obviously, he started to introduce me to, you know, the things that kids do these days as far as, the drinking, maybe it was the smoking. And um, I don't really know if my parents didn't like him enough or not. But we were seeing each other and we ended up getting pregnant. And it was something that was very scary because I feel like a lot of people can relate to as far as like, oh, this doesn't happen to me. It only happens to other people. And um, yeah, so it was just kind of more so a shock. And I had found out because I was late on my period. I actually wasn't on any birth control at the time. But I knew like when I was getting my period, like it was every month, it was pretty regular. And I was like 2 days late. And I'm like, okay, well, it's been a day late before. And then it was a third day late. And I'm like, okay, like I'm never late. And it kind of made me start to panic because I'm like, well, what do I do if I am pregnant? And it was more of like I was almost in denial of it. And so I remember this actually pretty vividly. It was New Year's Eve, my senior year of high school. And I ended up taking a pregnancy test with a friend. I took, I think maybe two, and we looked at them and they're like, yeah, like this is positive. And it was almost like, okay, like those are wrong, right? Like it was just like, okay, not true. But I ended up going and telling him that night, and I think we were actually going out to a party. And I told him, and he just kind of almost shut down because he didn't want to believe it either. And it was like we were both scared with the results of what it could mean. Uh, so, I mean, we ended up, the next couple of days just kind of talking about like what to do. Like, how do we tell our parents? Do we tell our parents? Um, what happens if we do have this kid? And I wish I remember how one of the options was abortion, like how that came into conversation, but it did. And I mean, honestly, at that point, I was just thinking about volleyball because I actually was going to go into college and continue my volleyball career. And that was really the only thing that I was thinking about was, well, I'm gonna have to give up my career of volleyball. And so, I mean, I guess I don't know what made me think about wanting to get an abortion or have that as an option, but it just seemed like the best option at that time. Like, I wish I really remember what my headspace was at, but that's just what it was. And so we ended up doing some research about where and how and like what are some of the different options. And being under 18, you'd have to have parental consent. So I was like, well, how am I supposed to do that? And then obviously went through the whole judicial bypass. And that was actually one of the craziest things that I ever actually went through was, I mean, sitting down in front of a judge and testifying why I should be old enough and responsible enough to actually go through this procedure. I mean, I remember my boyfriend actually calling me out of school to like set up the meetings to meet with them and go through the hearing. And it was just so surreal. Like it was like just me and the lady that I was with, and it took like 5 minutes. And looking back, I'm like, why was that even a thing? But it was like a 5 minutes, like I explained why I was responsible enough, and they're like, okay, yep. They handed me the piece of paper. I scheduled my appointment with Planned Parenthood. I asked them what the next steps were, and I scheduled it. It was like I scheduled it for a Saturday. And I like told my parents a lie of like my friends and I were going to the cities for the weekend or for the day, you know, told them something to have them let me go. And this was kind of where, well, one that frustrated me the most was actually my parents had found out And I don't know if it's, a mother's instinct or something like that, but my mom could tell something was off, like something was wrong with me. I was trying to do something. And I mean, this made me so mad. I journaled a lot and I still kind of do, but I was journaling like, please God, like I can't be pregnant. Like what am I supposed to do? And she ended up reading my journal, my private journal, and I was even more mad at her for that. That's a whole nother story. But we ended up all sitting down. It was my mom, my dad, and and we, I mean, my mom was like shocked too and devastated. And it was just kind of like, okay, like I told them the whole process. I told them I had everything figured out already and that like this was going to happen. Like I want to focus on volleyball here. Um, and also I think it was deep down, I knew I wasn't going to stay with this guy in the long run anyways. I think that also had something to do with it. But my mom actually wanted me to keep it. We had conversations about, well, I can adopt it from you, or adoption. Like we are talking about that. I mean, my whole family is like, we have the same core values. Like abortion is murder. And well, I mean, one thing that, I mean, well, my dad actually wanted me to continue with the abortion. And I don't know if it was because I mean, I was his firstborn daughter and it was out of an ego thing, or if he was just as scared as I was. And, it's something that we've all never been through. And it was definitely a tough couple of weeks leading up to the abortion, and I ended up going through with it. Um, so I actually went to the appointment. My mom actually came with me because she was like, although like it was really tough to see you go through that, like I wasn't gonna let you go through it alone. Like I'm your mom. And it was my boyfriend too, he came with, and we went through the whole process of getting through the Planned Parenthood doors. Um, Again, everything just seemed so like surreal. It almost seemed like a movie, like this wasn't actually happening. And I was called back and they had to do an ultrasound, of course, to see how long I was, like, to continue. And after actually that I saw the ultrasound and they were like, oh, yep, there's a heartbeat. I actually just bursted out into tears because I'm like, what am I doing? But like, I can't pull out now. Like, I'm already this far. Like, I gotta, like, I don't know. I was young, I was 17. So there was so many just emotions going through. And they're like, yep, you're 6 weeks pregnant. There's a heartbeat. Like they literally gave me a picture of the ultrasound too. And they're like, all right, here you go. Like the next steps is you're going to take this pill. I actually went through the pill method of abortion. So they're like, you're going to take this pill today. You're going to take this next pill, 24-hour later or so, like at home, the comfort of your home, right? They all say. And I actually had a volleyball tournament the next day, which I had to miss. I just called in sick. And that was probably the only volleyball tournament I had ever missed because I just was something that I always played through was any sickness or whatever. And I am glad that I did miss it because that next day was just the most painful. It was so something I never want my worst enemy to go through, if I'm being honest. I mean, they I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. There was just so much emotion and pain that I was going through and experiencing. I actually, I slept in. I took the pill at the time they had told me to, and it was shortly after, like an hour after I had taken it, is when, I mean, I was just, bleeding. And I actually went and I had to go sit in the shower, and I was sitting in my shower, literally just bawling and crying and like why like it was so painful. Like I don't even understand. Like it was crazy. And I ended up sitting in the shower for an hour, 2 hours, however long it took. And I'm like, okay, like I think I've got it under control. I can get up. And I had to take some of the painkillers that they had prescribed me because yeah, it was really bad. Um, but I just I mean, those knocked me out, but just like after and the next day and the weeks following, I just felt so alone because there was only like a handful of people that actually knew like what I had gone through. Like not even my best friend in high school, which I I kind of regret, not going to her for anything, but I also like knew like sh I didn't know if she would understand. So that was something that was really hard for me to keep a secret as far as, we were best friends. Like we're supposed to know everything about each other and like all the hard and tough times that we go through. But I mean, it was never brought up again with my parents. My boyfriend and I, we talked about it every so often. I mean, it was really never talked about again. I mean, I could describe my family as like we're close knit and everything, but when it comes to tough conversations, it's almost like we avoid it. So that was really hard for me to swallow as far as like, okay, like this was like a major thing. Like this is just like we're done talking about it. And at the time, like I was okay with it because I was also ashamed. But I'm like, looking back, I'm like, I wish we could have had more conversations. But anyways, I mean, after going through that, and that I think is where my mental health really started to spiral. I went through so many tough like bouts of depression, anxiety. I did start abusing drinking and other drugs and stuff. I ended up going to college, playing volleyball, and that was all that I had my mind on was numbing the pain. And that was also like, I mean, I had good friends in college and but like that was all we really focused on. And yeah, I mean, I'll just leave it at that. And post college, I also struggled with some other suicidal ideations, and I did have some suicide attempts because I just felt like there was something missing in my life. And I don't know if it was because like I had lost a kid, like that's not what I should say was missing, but like there was a lot of purpose in my life and just emptiness because I felt like I didn't have a support group or just could be open about things. Maybe I just wasn't completely healed or forgiven yet. So yeah, I mean, I won't go into too many details about that, but honestly, after listening to some of your podcasts, Brittany, is when it's just brought so much more clarity into explaining like why I was feeling those feelings that I were because like yes, I had struggled with anxiety prior to the abortion, but like after, I'm like, that is literally where it all stemmed from, was when that happened. And I'm like, that's not, those aren't things that doctors tell you about as far as like the after effects or the pain that you're going through. Like I was not comfortable at home doing it at home. So it just brought so much more clarity. And yeah, I would say just like the years leading up, like after that is just where I was not mentally there. Um, like I definitely had a drinking problem. And again, my parents just avoided talking about it. They like tried to like help me, drink in moderation, but essentially like yeah, like I was almost an alcoholic because it wasn't something we were willing to address. And I mean, drinking's normal these days, right? It's just the normal thing, which is also another frustrating topic. But I would say, so that was at 17. And um, I don't know how many years ago, do the math, but I mean, today I actually, I'm married. I'm in a very healthy relationship with my husband who is in full support of me and my future goals of sharing my testimony. Um, And I actually do attest all my healing and success to the group of people that I do have access to. And I mean, my best friend told me about your podcast, which I am so, so grateful for. Um, so my husband and I, we do run a successful business outside of kind of what we do for work. And I was actually at a leadership conference when it was a Sunday morning service and they did an altar call. And this was 4 years ago now. And when I was completely healed and forgiven of my past hurt. And it was now like, um, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't have to think about it every day. And it's just like, all right, I'm healed. We can move on. But it's like, yeah, so that was just kind of where I started to rekindle my relationship with the Lord. And I've always liked to say that I've had a, I'm a believer, I've had a good relationship, but it wasn't until then is when I started to actually bring God back into my life and have him just speak through me and live through me, and knowing that I am more than just one experience is just such a blessing, because now I can shed light to others maybe who have are struggling with this. Obviously, this is my first time, stepping my feet into doing something, but like I've just had this feeling of like I need to start sharing my story more. And I mean, especially with how the economy or how the election went this past year, it's just something that's frustrated me so much too, because it's so hard to hear and see things of people saying, oh, like, pro-choice, like women don't have a say anymore. And it's like, that's not what that means. And it's so frustrating when you're hearing these from people who are men, or you like haven't had abortions. And it's like, that's you haven't experienced that. So I think that's also where a lot of this has stemmed from. But I mean, I was also actually able to confront my mom about this too recently, and I just know that this is another thing. She was just so proud of me taking another step of healing and another step towards God, because I mean, she even said it to me. She was like, it was a hard time for me too. Like, obviously, no one wants to see their daughter go through that. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's just kind of my brief little story and kind of where I am at today.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. You were very vulnerable. And one thing I kept thinking over and over again while you were talking is that so many women listening to this right now do not feel alone. You said it, I've said it before. I think so many women listening to this right now feel so alone. Like, is there anyone out there who feels the way I do? Is there anyone out there who went through something similar that I did? And for you to just share all of that and really just be real about the serious negative effects that you experienced, that is going to be so healing for somebody. So thank you so much. And two, I'm sure you've heard this scripture, but we overcome the enemy by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And, just you sharing your testimony and sharing just what you went through, but how God has just really kind of been working on you and preparing you for this, is really going to inspire so many people. So thank you so much. Hey friend, I wanted to just pop in the middle of today's episode to remind you that healing is available for you. If you are looking for somebody to chat with one-on-one about your healing journey, I would love to invite you to book a one-on-one abortion recovery breakthrough call with me. Together, we are going to talk about your individual situation, everything you went through, what that means, and how you can move forward towards Christ and feeling that peace that only He can give. Sometimes we can get through what you need in one session, but I also have options available if you would like to continue your healing journey with me, and we will go through a framework that is going to help you address questions like, who is God? Who do I need to forgive? What areas of my life do I need healing? Where is my child now? All of those questions and more that can come up when we are trying to seek healing and wholeness from our pain and regret after abortion. I want to see that unresolved grief and shame out of your life so that you can move forward and live the abundant life that God has promised you. So if you're ready to book your one-on-one abortion recovery breakthrough call, you can go right now to brittanypoppy.com/coaching and book your very own 1-hour session. I cannot wait to see you there. There was a couple things that I wanted to kind of touch on. So, and you actually kind of answered a lot of my questions while you were talking, which was so awesome because I wanted to know how things are with your mom now. I think you made a really good point. Um, our our families also kind of have a level of healing that they have to go through, especially if they had some sort of involvement. She went with you that day. I'm sure she's had guilt over the years and sadness over the years, thinking about that. So I would love to hear more kind of how your relationship is, with those that were involved. And then, two, with your husband now, how has that kind of affected your marriage? How does this kind of affect your relationship with kids? Kind of dive into some of those things with us.
Yeah. Well, it's something that I've been able to been more open about with my mom and just like updating her and like just opening up about like I still remember like I'm still healing on this too, and to know that it still bothered her, I think made me feel better too because it wasn't like okay, like this happened, all right, we're forgetting about it. So I think it's definitely brought my mom and I a lot closer too over the past couple of weeks, as far as like it's also something that we went through together. A lot of, close relationships and bonds stem from, I don't know, trauma or just like going through stuff together, right? Um, I mean, as far as, my the dad or my boyfriend at the time, like obviously like we don't talk, like it's not something like he's back in California. We have our own lives now. It was just now a phase of our life. So that's not, I mean, something. But as far as like my husband, he knows everything. I was pretty open with him about it prior to us getting married. And that's one thing too that he's really, really supportive of. He's proud of me for opening up, sharing my story just because, I mean, he knows how many people it can actually help. And yeah, I would say he's just really proud of me that way. And I guess to answer your question about how, you know, maybe it's relationship with kids or things like that, or how I view kids, it's it at one point really bothered me, or I don't even say bothered. It just like struck a chord with my heart to like see like little kids and their moms, because like I used to be like, oh my gosh, like I could have a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, or whatever age like the kid would have been. Like I would do that all the time and compare what could have been versus like just letting it be and learning and growing and using now my testimony to help others. Like obviously, like I went through what I did for a reason, and that's just kind of what I'm learning now with God. But I used to just be so negative about it, and it would kind of make me sad. And now, like I have friends who have little kids, and it's just so fun to grow and see them with such a loving family, and to know like my husband and I, we do plan on having kids, and we talk about it like some of our, plans and goals with and how many kids we want. But it doesn't hurt anymore like it used to. I'm sure a lot of women can relate to that too. So,
Yeah, yeah. I thank you for sharing that because you're right. A lot of women can relate to how there's a lot of guilt there and a lot of shame and pain. And the fact that you now have hope in that area of your life is going to be so inspiring to people who get to hear that. So thank you so much. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but I would love to kind of hear maybe a little bit more about how you view the issue of abortion now. What are your views on that issue as someone who's gone through it? And maybe kind of walk us through how they may have evolved over time, since you walked through that decision and now that you're walking through your healing.
mhm. So so after I went through the abortion, there was a time where I was like, well, I believe all of these things, but there are some things where it's okay because I don't know. Give a reason for why maybe abortion would be okay. I don't know. Like there was a point at my time where I actually thought like that. And now it's just like, no, like I need to stay true to the word, meaning abortion is not good. Like there is no circumstance where it would ever be okay. And I mean, you've talked about it in some episodes of like, medical abortions in quotes, like what constitutes as that or not. And I mean, it's deliberately killing a human being. And it's not right. It frustrates me that our country is so divided on a topic like that when well, one, there are bigger topics to be divided about, but two, like it's a real thing, like that a lot of people are putting so much pressure on women to be like, well, are you pro-life or pro-choice? And a lot of the argument is it stems from, Christians. And a lot like if you're pro-life, like that means it only has a biblical background to that belief. And it's like that's not always that's not true. Like, yes, it probably has a big part of most of people who believe that, but that's not 100% true. And there's just been so many nasty posts. I'm sure you've seen some things about like why people should, consider abortion health care. And it's just not true because it's not what they've experienced. So,
For sure. Yeah. Thank you for that. It's yeah, when you say we're divided, it's very true. We're having this conversation a couple of days after I got back from the Choose Health Not Harm rally in Washington D.C. for Medina versus Planned Parenthood, a case going through the Supreme Court right now. And man, the people that were there rallying for Planned Parenthood are just so angry and just some of the arguments that they would use for why abortion is okay just don't even make sense. And I love so much that you, as a Christian woman, said that about how it's not just about religion. It's not just about what the Bible says. Like, of course, as Christians, we look to the word for our truth, but it's not even just that at this point. It's basic biology. And so love that you mentioned that, because I think we as Christians get such a bad rap for trying to, quote unquote, shove the Bible down people's throats, but that's just not the case.
mhm.
Especially with this issue, there's so much that goes into it. So thank you so much. um, so I would love for you, and I know you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I would love for you, if you are willing, to kind of dig deeper into why you've decided that you are going to start sharing your story. What has God kind of told you? What kind of nudges have you felt from him? And why do you think it's so important that you start speaking out and sharing what you went through?
Yeah. A lot of like God speaking to me and like pushing me to share my story was a lot because of just like gaining more insight from your podcast and just learning more from someone who's actually gone through it. Um, but so I kind of mentioned this already, but my husband and I, we run a business out of our jobs, our day jobs per se. And a lot of our goals kind of stem from maybe spreading the word of God. And I mean, we have a lot of financial goals too. And I was kind of at a point where it, there was no really like bigger vision even per se for our life. Um, so it was just kind of like after, hearing some of your podcasts, it just kind of like clicked. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know why we're fighting so hard for some of our goals. And it just when you go through something so hard, it's and so traumatizing, it it can be easy to just like hold it in and like continue to move on. But there was still a part of me where I needed to help other people with that as well. And I obviously like I don't want to start a podcast. That's not part of my calling per se, but I mean I think as far as some of like where I see my future going is sharing my story with others. Maybe it's with close friends or family. Maybe it's speaking at, I don't know, bigger events. Maybe it's donating, honestly, donating and just visiting women care centers, other nonprofits who help women with unplanned pregnancies, and just spreading the word of God and letting them know that it's okay to feel so scared and alone, but that they aren't. And sometimes hearing it from a third party, somebody who you don't know, means a lot more than somebody who's close in your life. So, I mean, obviously, I don't know where it's going to take me. This is the first step, but I know there's more to helping people in this world. So,
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I just want to commend you for your bravery and your courage in taking that first step. Like, this is not an easy thing. It's extremely difficult to share about the most vulnerable parts of our past and our life. And, that worry that can creep in of, what's someone going to think about me, or is this going to cause strife between myself and other people? But you are bravely stepping into what God has asked you to do. And like you said, you don't know where that's going to take you yet. And that's okay. I think it's just a huge thing that you have been obedient in doing what He has asked you to do. And I just know that your story is going to help so many people, however He asks you to share it. I know it's going to help people when they listen to this episode, and I know that it's going to help people no matter where He asks you to share that and in what venues. And I can't wait to hear about more of that as you continue to do that. And I know that women listening to this are going to want to maybe talk to you, reach out to you. Would you mind sharing, where we can find you if someone wants to just kind of reach out and say, hey, tell us where we can find you?
yeah, I am on Instagram and Facebook too. I mean, if you just search my name, Quinn Pearls, and it's spelled Poehls, so a little bit funky. But I mean, you can find me Instagram, Facebook. You can shoot me a message. Either is fine.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much. And what is yours and your husband's business?
Yeah, so we run a marketing business. Everything's ran online, so it's just gives us more flexibility and options when it comes to some of our financial goals too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, do you share about that on your Instagram?
Yeah, yeah, there should be
Okay.
some info on there.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So if anyone wants to check that out, they can look at that too. Well, thank you so much, Quinn. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and I hope to have you on again sometime.
Thank you, Brittany.
Hey, beautiful friend, I hope that you found comfort from today's episode. If so, would you consider leaving a review wherever you are listening? It truly encourages me to know that this podcast has been helping you. Also, I want to remind you that we are here for you. If you would like to connect with a community of women healing from the past decision of abortion, please join us in our private Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Christian women healing from abortion. Please know that I continue to pray for you every day, and I am so thankful for you. I will meet you back in a few days for a brand new episode, but until then, take care and God bless.